Have you ever wondered why some countries just take off, while others that look so similar on paper seem to get stuck? Well, today we're jumping into a huge economic mystery. We're pitting two giants of the Americas against each other to figure out what really makes a nation prosper. All right, so let's meet our two main characters, the United States and Brazil. Each one is the heavyweight of its continent, North and South America. And you might be surprised to find out they have a ton in common. I mean, just look at this. Both are absolutely massive countries. They're both incredible melting pots of different cultures, and they're both packed with natural resources. They even have these super complex economies that make everything from food to airplanes. So, that's the big question, right? If all the key ingredients are so alike, why are the final dishes so incredibly different?
And here's the punchline. Wow. Despite all those similarities, the economic reality is just worlds apart. When you look at GDP per capita, which is basically the country's economic output divided by its people, the average American is about 8 times wealthier than the average Brazilian. That's not just a gap, it's a canyon.
And this isn't some fixed problem either. It's actually getting worse. Both economies are growing, but because the US started from such a higher point, that wealth gap is on track to become a massive chasm. In just 2 decades, that divide is going to be way, way bigger. It really shows we're looking at two totally different paths.
So, obviously, we have to figure this out. What could possibly be causing such a huge and growing difference? It's time to play detective and start ruling out some of the usual suspects. Seriously, what's the hidden variable here? Is it something like geography, maybe culture, or is it something else, something deeper that we're not seeing at first glance? Let's peel back the layers.
Okay, first things first, let's just get one major myth off the table right now. The difference has absolutely nothing to do with the people themselves. That argument is a total dead end.
And this is just so important to understand. The source material is crystal clear on this point. People everywhere are ambitious, they have great ideas, and they want a better life. That's just a human thing. Brazilians and Americans have that in equal measure. So, if it's not the people, what in the world is it?
Well, the evidence starts pointing away from the players in the game and towards the rule book they're all forced to follow. Yep, we're talking about the law.
And there it is. This is the core idea. A country's prosperity is deeply, profoundly shaped by its laws, its regulations, and all that bureaucracy. These rules of the game can either set people free to create, or they can tie them up in knots.
Think about it like this. Every single rule, every permit you have to get, every legal hoop you have to jump through, it's like a tiny tax. It's not a tax on your money, but it's a tax on your time, your energy, and your creativity. A few of these are fine, but when they pile up, they become this massive weight that just drags the whole economy down.
Okay, so that's the theory, but talk is cheap, right? Where's the proof? Let's look at some real-world evidence that shows how these different legal systems actually play out.
Okay, check this out. This is fascinating. We all know the United States has a reputation for having a lot of lawsuits, right? Well, get this. Brazil has almost twice as many lawyers per person. Now, this isn't a knock on lawyers, but it signals something really important. The system is so complex that it requires a whole army of experts just to figure out how to navigate it.
And this quote just nails the economic problem. When all your smartest people are busy fighting over the existing pie, arguing over who gets what slice, that's brain power that isn't going towards making the pie bigger for everyone. It's a system focused on division instead of creation.
There's this old joke that actually explains this perfectly. In the US system, the general idea is that you're free to do something unless there's a specific law against it. The default is, go for it. But in systems like those in Germany or Brazil, it's the other way around. The default is no, and you need specific permission to do anything new. That just slows everything down.
And you can see the results of this pretty clearly, especially in the most cutting-edge industries. The US is a leader in things like AI, biotech, and new financial tech, precisely because innovators have the freedom to just try stuff. But that more cautious, you have to ask for permission approach means that Europe, and by extension Brazil, often end up playing catch-up.
And this experiment just shows the real-world cost perfectly. The TV host, John Stossel, tried to start a simple t-shirt business in a few different places. In Hong Kong, he was up and running in a day. A day! In the US, it took about a week. But in a place with a ton of red tape like India, which is very similar to Brazil's system, he was still waiting for permits a year later. Just imagine how many brilliant ideas simply die on the vine waiting for a stamp of approval.
So the diagnosis seems pretty clear, doesn't it? It's the system itself that's holding back a country full of capable, creative people.
But the great news is you can always rewrite the rulebook. So let's talk about what that path forward could actually look like. You know, the solution isn't some crazy, complicated master plan. It's really about getting the absolute basics right. First, you need secure property rights so people trust that what they build won't be taken away. Second, public safety is a must. You can't innovate if you don't feel safe. Third, everyone has to be treated equally by the law, no special favors. And finally, you have to cut down that mountain of bureaucracy and just get out of the way. If you build that solid foundation, the people, they'll do the rest.
And that really brings us to the final multi-trillion-dollar question. The potential of the Brazilian people is immense. That's not up for debate. And the path to prosperity is surprisingly clear. But changing a system that's been in place for a long time is incredibly hard. The real challenge is whether the political will can be found to finally change the rules of the game and unlock the incredible future that nation deserves.